Good morning, everybody. I hope this video finds you well. Today I want to talk a little bit about the writing Alien Interview and the misconceptions that we seem to have regarding it. Okay? If you are a professed expert in Alien Interview, this may get away from your understanding of what's going on. What the hell? And I want to talk a little bit about that. If you give a science fiction story or a fictional story, a fantasy story to three people, and each one of them read the story, and then separately ask all of them to describe what the house was like that the main character lived in, everyone would describe it differently. And that is because our imaginations fill in the blanks as we read a narrative or as somebody describes something to us. Our imagination fills in the blanks. The story itself may not talk about the shape of the door, but our imaginations fill in that there's a door and what it will look like. One person might think that the house that the character lives in resembles a typical suburban house, while another one may think it resembles a McMansion, and yet the third one may think it resembles some kind of city townhouse, each one with a different kind of door. And that's the same with everything we read. And it can result in all kinds of different interpretations. Let's consider, for instance, near-death experiences. I've been listening, watching, reading a couple of things on near-death experiences. As an amusement more than anything else, lately. A couple of things popped up on my YouTube, and so I'm checking them out. And basically, people are talking about, okay, they meet spirits, okay? Other ones say they meet angels and they look like Jesus Christ, okay? Other ones are saying that they have a guide there with them, but it's all formless, okay? They all have similar experiences, but their mind and their thoughts interpret those experiences based upon their strength of understandings. Which is why I pretty much lay out how things work in your current contemporaneous understanding of things as they actually are. And those of you who follow me and read, you pretty much have an idea what to expect. So let's talk a little bit about the domain. We are told that domain were operating in this area, and they had a battalion of domain members who were all captured and incarcerated, and are now trapped inside this fiasco prison complex. Is there anything I'm saying that is not being said in in Alien Interview. That's as I understand it, right? So let's get this straight, right? You have these. So let's go on a domain member basis. Let's take one singular domain member. And here we are. Here's the domain member, right? I'm using the heart because of reasons that I explained in the other video. And we're under the impression that while operating in this physical world, they had a physical body. Since they're military, it's probably one type or another of a military body. Right? So let's have a look-see at that, okay? Right? So let's take this, take the quanta and put it in a sheath, a collection of quanta sheath, a non-physical sheath. And then depending upon their rank or their caste within that society, they entered into a physical body. We know that the physical body is different from that of a soldier to that of a leader. We know they're different. We know that the leaders were different here and were able to extract themselves. But we know that the rank and file were not so lucky. And the old empire stripped them of this body and took this sheath and brought it over to heaven and suddenly put them in this reoccurring nightmare. Every one generation reoccurs over and over again. Is there anything I'm saying there that is not true? Because as far as I understand it, that's the situation. It's only one thing. So this domain member, and it's not completely clear, so just go with me here. Is it a complete soul? The entire soul? The entire soul was captured and placed in this container? Or is it this aspect of the Isby soul? We don't know. The impression that I get, the strong impression that I get, is that it's a fractional of the totality of those particular individual domain members. And I'm going to tell you why. You see, the members are not individual souls. They're a hybrid matrix quantum organization. They're organized. The quanta is organized differently than the individualized quanta. So what the old empire did is took what it had. It extracted what it had, tore it apart into individual consciousnesses. And gave each one a body. Because, two reasons. Number one is that the way to control entities within the prison complex means you have to dumb down the lowest energy aspects of them to keep them trapped, and you need to erase their memories or separate them from their memories. That's the first aspect. The second aspect is you have to take away their soul community. If you're part of a hive or a matrix soul, you are actually part of something much larger. Do you get me? Imagine a matrix soul as a big, big soul. And then each individual in it is just a few quanta. It's sort of like the cloud in structure. Seriously. That's right. It's like the cloud. All the files, all the things you deal with are located elsewhere, and you're only using a terminal. It's just like that. But in the case of domain, instead of one central server, all the individuals have a part of the server inside of them. If that makes any sense to you. It's transdimensional. So when they go ahead and they plucked this individual out of this physical mechanism, machinery that they were operating within, when they plucked them out, they were only accessing an individual that was much greater than the whole. So let's put it in bigger perspective now as far as domain is concerned. It would be like an apple. Apple is domain. And you cut off a sliver of that apple and take it away. That's what happened. That apple wants its part back. And when they slit this part off, they did other things to it that's going to have to be mended. Okay? And that's what happened. All right? So, what am I getting to? This idea that you're an individual is unique to the prison planet. The rest of the universe, the main universe, everybody is part of something bigger. You're a hive soul, a matrix soul. You're not an individual soul. Which points to the idea that the concept of individual souls is a concept of prison suits. And I will even take that a little further to say that just about every entity that is trapped within this prison environment is originally part of a hive or a matrix soul grouping that yearns for it to return. Of course, this does not discount at all, does not discount at all the importance of this. This is not so serious. This is not so important, but this is important. your consciousness is very important and belongs to something else. Okay? And that's what's going on. Of course, trying to explain it that way to the mindset of people back in 1945 would have been way above their comprehension level. They didn't even know what quanta was. They thought atoms were the smallest thing. There was so much they didn't know. And not only that was the learned scientists of the day. Let's not even get talking to the rank and file military. So they talked to them on a basis of understanding what they could understand. They could understand going to prison. They could understand concentration camps. They can understand battalions. But they can't understand things like we're talking about things. And that's what I want to impress upon you all. We have a tendency, being an individualized consciousness, to think that we are all that there is because that's all we know. If your domain, a massive part of you is detached from you right now. You yearn to get back to that. You yearn to be reconnected. Of course, domain can clone and do all kinds of things to recapture. And if domain can do it for their members, those of you who have been pried away from your other collectives can do so as well. And this is a real important thing that I'm trying to impress upon you all. It's the idea that being an individual is a skin suit. And that in reality, your soul is a much bigger thing than we're talking about. The role of mantids, the guardian angels, are much bigger than what we've been talking about. And the association of all these things with something much larger, the ISB, is something that we have been talking on a trivial basis, but is in truth a substantive element of who you are and what you represent. These are things to think about, guys. So, when talking about alien interview, prison planets, and everything, I want you to keep in mind only the individual consciousness is a fabrication consisting of lowest energy quanta, torn out from your much larger being. You need to reattach to the rest of you. That is the higher energy you that exists out there somewhere. Exists somewhere out there. That's a you. You reattach to it, and bongo, a bunch of good stuff's going to start happening. You need to adjust your consciousness, your understanding, to that. So when people have these near-death experiences and they use their experiences, I say, well, I've met my long-deceased families and friends, and I've met families and friends that I didn't have in this life, but I know from wherever. That's how they experience things. I met angels, and I met the Lord God, and Jesus came to me. That's how they understand things. Now I'm telling you how it works. Your individual consciousness has been torn asunder. You need to connect to you, the entire big part of you. Domain will help. Domain will help. Call out for domain. Yearn always to reconnect with the bigger part of you. Do it on your terms and take your time. There's no rush for anything. And don't go anywhere until you first have a conversation with domain. Then you can go off and do whatever you want. Okay? And that is my little discussion today. For some it might be profound, for others it might just be boring. It's like, what the hell? What are you talking about? I don't understand. Just trying to give you I'm trying to make a difference, guys. I don't know if I am being successful, but I'm really trying to make a difference. I hope this information has been helpful to you, and know always, regardless of what goes on in your personal life, people, I believe in you. Yes, I do.
迷雾偷走了颜色，想扮演格外深刻，寥寥几个人懂得。眼看着就要一个人做选择，割舍，假意的动了声色，却骂在适当晚了，无辜着眼神什么？文明强撑着伪善的资格，名额。他情绪渐渐失控，他借口肆意放风，非警察穿戳破这一秒的救救。窟窿，我自己笑得像一只飞蛾扑火线，情势交火，伴着我清醒时刻，平息着撕裂的躯壳，选择。散一个成全自我幻化是坎坷，嘲笑我眼神焦灼，赞颂你熟悉的罪恶性格。假意的动了声色，却骂在适当晚了，无辜着眼是什么？文明强撑着伪善的资格，名额。他情绪渐渐失控，他借口肆意放风，被警察穿戳破这一秒的求救。不火山，情势交火，伴着我清醒时刻，平息着撕裂的躯壳，选择聚散在拉扯，散一个成全自我幻化是坎坷，嘲笑我眼神焦灼，赞颂你熟悉的罪恶性格，我自己笑得像一只飞蛾扑火山，情势交火，伴着我清醒时刻，平息着撕裂的躯壳。